And there we go. It's another week for Vishal and company. It's just us four, just us beautiful four, hanging out for you today. Maddie has been caught up in some work back east, so she cannot attend this week, but she will be here next week. So we are here. This is TK. This is Vishal, and I got the wrong names on everybody except me. Is that passive aggressive, fucking subconscious, or what? I'm putting Joseph back to where he should be, Vishal where he should be. TK, watch it happen. It's magic. It's all going on right now live.
It's okay,
wow.
Man. It's Halloween, right? Coming up, so we can pretend to be each other.
Exactly. This is the wonder of production, except we don't shoot and kill anybody. All right, Vishal. Big news this week on the boards. Let's hear it.
So let's talk about the markets first. And as we are live right now, you can see the SPY hit new record highs today. The NASDAQ is actually finally breaking out here. I find this one interesting, and we'll probably talk about a few tech companies. I think there's one that starts with T and ends with an A that we can talk about that helps. That's helping drive this breakout, I believe. And the Dow Jones as well made new highs a few days ago, pulled back to retest, and right now is not joining the new highs party as the NASDAQ and the S&P 500. But I think this breakout here on the NASDAQ is quite telling. We tried 3 times this week. We failed 3 times, but it looks like the 4th time is going to break out. Although, folks, we still have about an hour and like 45 minutes before the markets close, so we can easily see some sort of sell-off perhaps by then. But big individual stock news in terms of market-wise news, still technically the same. We're hearing about the inflation stories. In fact, today I think we hit a 30-year high in inflation. I have an article here on Squid Game and cryptos, but we'll talk about that in just a bit. But there was an article here, if I can find it, about 30-year high inflation rates. Looks like it's not on the front page anymore, but you do see Bill Ackman here talking about start raising rates as fast as possible to settle inflation down, I'm assuming. But that was the, that's still the narrative going on over here in Canada, actually. So for us Canadians, it was quite an eventful week for the Loonie and also the Bank of Canada, who on Wednesday sort of took the market by surprise by saying, hey, look, you remember the QE program that we were doing just a few months ago? We were printing about somewhere between 4 to 5 billion a week to purchase bonds. So I guess that's about like, 20, let's say up to 20 billion a month purchasing bonds. They cut it. Apparently not the whole thing. We're still going to be doing 4 to 5 billion a month, but the market was expecting the the Bank of Canada to maybe say, okay, we'll gradually taper, and then from there we will decide to cut QE further down the road. But instead, they're deciding to cut the majority of the QE
I think they're starting to realize that this shit's out of control. Inflation's here to stay, kids, and it's not something they can actually put under their thumb.
Exactly. So as soon as that happened, that's what a lot of these analysts, TD Bank and stuff, were saying, that they're like, okay, so this is probably the Bank of Canada getting ready to hike interest rates to combat inflation. And now there's talks that, and again, this is the analysts, not the Bank of Canada. The Bank of Canada didn't say anything about raising rates, although they are saying that likely in the second half of 2022, we will raise rates. But analysts at TD Bank, RBC, are expecting the Bank of Canada, sorry, not the Fed, but the Bank of Canada to raise interest rates from where we are right now at 0.25 up to 1% by the end of 2022. And some people are even saying that this could happen as early as April, not up to 1%, but a rate hike as early as April. So we'll watch to see if that unfolds. And the Loonie, this is that red candle here. You see where my mouse is. This is what happened during that meeting. So it was quite volatile for the Canadian dollar or the Loonie. But since then, we didn't really take off. So maybe the market's not expecting too much, because if they were expecting the Bank of Canada to raise rates, I guess, sooner rather than later, you would expect the Loonie to get stronger compared to the dollar. But that didn't happen. So keep an eye out on that. Yep.
Vishal, just a quick question on that. Do you think this lack of reaction or distorted reaction to what would typically result in an immediate change in the value of the Canadian dollar, do you think that's because the markets right now are completely fucking diluted?
I think, yeah, I think it could be that, but it could just be because they're confused, right? Because we're at a point to where, okay, and we'll talk about this when we talk about some tech companies, but we're at this point where everyone's saying, hey, the Canadian dollar is going to get stronger because the Bank of Canada is going to raise rates, where some other analysts might be saying, oh, but wait, by this month or by next month, the Fed is going to be deciding to raise rates and tapering. So this is sort of what we talked about, that currency war or currency crisis, where if you're going to price in now, all these central banks are going to start hiking rates. Not one currency is going to win out against the other just in terms of interest differentials. So maybe the market's now factoring, I guess, better economic data for, say, the US versus Canada. I'm not sure, but technically we were just in a range. So I'm just more of a technical guy. I see that and I'm like, okay, we're just bouncing, and the range traders are saying, hey, let's buy at the bottom of the range, let's sell at the top, and let's just keep making money as long as that range holds. But I do expect some wild moves in the currency markets going forward, and I think, yeah, central banks will be at the center of all of that. But enough of the markets, new highs right now. We'll probably be talking more about this next week, and also central banks. But cryptos and a company called Tesla, we're making a lot of news today. On the crypto side was Shiba Inu and NFTs. And then we had Tesla on the other side. I'll open the floor and decide which one you guys want to talk about first.
Well, TK, I know you want to talk about their sales and performance because, oh my God, they finally sold some fucking cars. Why don't you do that while I cringe and bite my arm, and then I'll set in on the after effect and the lunacy that's followed this mediocre fucking report. Go ahead.
By the way, Gillen, Tesla did make new record highs today. Just crossed over 1,100, but it's down low. It might hit 1,100 while we're speaking.
Makes me want to punch him in the throat. Go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, so we know they put out their Q3 results a couple of days ago, maybe at the beginning of the week. So I'll go over like the quick highlights that they put out, and then I'll go into something more that I think people are kind of ignoring with the company because it's reflecting good fundamentals right now. So the highlights go like this. They had operating cash flow, so free cash, of close to $1 billion for the quarter. Yippee for them. They also had a decrease of cash in their cash position of almost $164 million. So the company is using a lot of cash, and that's probably because of the capex. But the key thing here is their operating margins and their net income is up before they take off stock-based compensation. So the number they put here is 1.6 billion in GAAP income. So that's the accounting income. But they report a $2.1 billion increase in non-GAAP income when they add back stock-based compensation. So if you do the quick math there, stock-based comp is close to $1 billion to executives and other employees. Yep. But out of everything, they, like Galen said, they made some more sales in cars and they made less sales in tax credits. I think 200 million in tax credits and 30 billion in sales. So analysts have taken that now, those figures, and said, okay, in the last 12 months, Tesla has made close to $3 billion in net income. So me being the curious person I am, I said, okay, let's put this to the test. Let's see how much growth people are factoring into the current price today. Because I think we can all agree with any stock, its value comes from the cash generated over time until it goes bust. So we'll assume 15 years Tesla will go bust. That's my first assumption. And I'll use the analyst estimates because I didn't want to make my own. And we'll go from 2021, but I won't name all of them. But in 2021, the total sales should be close to 51 billion is what they're expecting. And net income should be close to 6 billion. So that's a double on what the company has already made now in the last quarter of the year. In 2022, analysts are expecting 70 billion in sales and 9 billion in net income. So this is assuming they have doubled their output in car sales since 2020. So if you look at the chart there that Vishal had a couple seconds ago.
Back on their auto sales?
Yeah, this one. This is the auto sales by units. If you go down to Tesla, right at the bottom, throughout the year, they averaged 22,000 per month on car sales. So this is doubling the car sales per month in that year is what the assumption is, right? If you just take those cash flows, by the end of for 15 years, by the end of 2036, growing at 38%, that's the just average that they've done. The company should generate $7 trillion in sales, or close to $980 billion in net income, which gives it a valuation of close to 1 trillion, close to 1 trillion. So about where it's trading right now.
What's that right now? Yeah.
And if those numbers make sense, then yeah, go ahead. That means basically they take the whole market. If you take the companies for today, like the top 9, so Toyota, GM, Ford, Tesla, VW, BMW, Benz, BYD, and Hyundai, they have total sales in 2020 of close to 1.2 trillion. Just the 9 companies, including Tesla. That means Tesla has close to 1% of the market in 2020. But by 2030, they should have 26% of the market in car sales.
Okay.
Just
curious.
All right.
Just curious, TK, did you do the numbers for Ford by any chance?
No, I didn't do the Ford numbers as well. I was going to, but it was going to take a while. So I was like, let me just focus on the
because
problem.
They got big news as well. Like they're increasing their
Ford has actually really stepped into the EV market. They're developing their own batteries and storage facilities. They're dumping billions and billions of dollars into this. So they will be a formidable player. Every other traditional auto manufacturer is also starting to lump in the dollars and the research time. So yes, they will all be viable contenders within the market. They are not going anywhere. So Tesla, okay, all right. What TK has set aside, they finally done their fucking job and sold some cars. Yay. What do you want, a fucking medal or a chest to pin it on? So anyway, basically the whole the investment community went apeshit over this news and has now pushed the company to well over $1,000 a share, which it cannot in any way justify at the moment or at any time in the future. This valuation is an affront to humanity, to all that's holy, and the markets in general. It makes no sense whatsoever, and it's only a clear indicator that the speculation that we're seeing in the markets right now, we're heading for a head dive or a head plant or face plant. Sorry, I'll get the word right at some point. We are not in for a good run. It's shown itself in the cryptocurrency craze. It's shown itself in Tesla. The guy, his solar segment, which he is claimed to be a moneymaker for the company, has finally admitted, after the court case seems to be dead in the water, I don't know, that the solar panel segment is dead in the water, that it makes no money for the company, and it was a bad fucking decision. So we don't have the depth. He's lighting fires in Australia with his power storage. He's still lighting fires in his cars. He's only got 790,000 cars out there, with the exception of whatever he's managed to sell this year. And in that time, they've had over 30 reported crashes. And only 3 of those do not involve the autopilot. They've had 10 deaths. All right, putting this into perspective, GM, the Bolt, which had 3 million cars out, 3 million of the Bolts were out. There were 14 incidences where fire was an issue. No deaths, and the entire line was pulled back in. This is wanton disregard for public safety, for business ethics. The deal that he's done with Hertz makes no sense whatsoever. $4.6 billion worth of cars. Hertz is purportedly going to be buying. This is a company that claimed bankruptcy protection within the last year. Where's the money coming from? Unless Tesla and Uber are heavily subsidizing these sales. Because part of this deal is that 50,000 of these cars are supposed to be given out to Uber drivers for $299 a month. Where is Hertz going to make their money back on these vehicles? It won't happen in the fucking 10 years that they're going to have them, right? So somebody has to be kicking in. Uber's feeling a real hard pinch, is going to have to start, really telling what's going on. The company's losing money hand over fist. The same with most of these gig economy companies. This is a whole lot of smoke and mirrors that were being presented, being sold merely on meme appeal. Tesla, Kimball Musk, and Elon Musk have to get slapped. Somehow, through either regulation from the NTSB, and the National Transportation Safety Board is already carrying out investigations against the company, and apparently they've actually, on issues unrelated to the full FSD, which is the big thing here. This company is illegally using customers and us, who are not customers, as fucking lab rats in doing their testing for their FSD, and it's a deadly proposition. This should never have taken place. And yet somehow he's just able to freewheel his way out, manipulate the market, escape censorship from the SEC and any kind of control from his board. This is, as I said, an affront, and a complete affront. And really, honestly, only proof that the market is about to do a fucking header. Because everybody is screaming for value, or for seeking a yield in a market that doesn't have traditional methods of gaining it. And this, unfortunately, is only going to lead to financial disaster. And if we continue to get suckered by Tesla, we're only digging a deeper hole for the rest of us.
Remember when he was saying this Tesla stock price is too high, in my opinion, on May 1st, 2020?
Yeah.
I think that was basically when we were trading at 170, under $200.
Yeah. The stock is at best worth maybe 120 right now. At best. Sorry.
That's why I find it so strange that there are professionals sitting there looking at the numbers and projecting $7 trillion in sales by 2036 and saying that's A-okay.
It's a bullshit lie or a complete incompetent analysis.
Yeah,
it's either criminal or incompetence.
Yeah, it's like, how are you justifying?
It's definitely one of the other.
Yeah,
Kathy Wood makes me sick.
So that's what I was just going to ask. I'll ask TK and Galen. But I draw a Fibonacci. This is just like a tool. I won't get too in depth with it, but basically you just map out the major move. So I got the move from like $70 up to basically 900 before we pulled back. Drew my Fibonacci, and my first target actually came out to 1100, which we're actually testing. So it's sort of like magic, these Fibonacci. But I have another target up here. The next target is going to be around 1400. So I'm going to ask you guys, does Tesla hit Kathy Wood's 3000 target first, or are we going to be seeing a bit of a major pullback from here? What do you guys think?
Kathy Wood is being a complete fucking rainmaker and calling a high price in order to drive the whole stock up. And people are insane enough to believe her. That's the unfortunate part. At this point, it breaks my fucking heart. But I don't see a way that we are going to shake our fucking heads before the market itself crashes. This will probably hit 1400, and who knows, some fucking moron will push it to 3000. I'm sorry. I have little or no respect for the individuals now that are pumping this share price.
That's true. Yeah, I think I share the same sentiment. Yep. At today's interest rates and the projected revenue for the U.S., Tesla does seem cheap.
Cheaper, right? Yeah.
At today's interest rates, I'll repeat that so people don't get confused about what I'm saying. At today's interest rates, with projected sales for the U.S. economy, Tesla does look cheap. And I think we'll get to
that's what we've been talking about in terms of yield. Probably better to buy stocks.
Yeah.
Speaking about
that's my opinion there. It's kind of crazy that she has a price target of 3000. I would say that's relatively low for her optimism.
Yep.
Speaking about big retail moves, how about we take a look at our favorite dog coin? Joseph,
Well,
what the hell happened here, man?
I think before we get started, we should probably point out that Bitcoin is down, Ethereum's up.
Yeah.
Ethereum has actually this week Ethereum actually pushed out its latest Ethereum 2.0 upgrade, the Altair.
There we
and
go.
nobody cares. Nobody
yeah.
cares because this stupid dog is taking over. Now, if you look at if I'm on the CoinGecko site, and you can actually look at the all-time low, which was November 28th of 2020, and if you look at the green number beside it, the percentage that it's up, it is 131,652,187.2%. What the fuck is that number? I don't even know how anything gets to that number. I mean, that is crazy sauce. I mean, the market cap for this coin itself is $40 million. It's $40.8 million, and the all-time low is still 131 million.
You know what's funny, Joseph? I'm just going to briefly just step in and step right back out again. I know people say I've got a friend all the time and it's just a story, but no, I really do have a friend who bought into Shiba when it was at its lowest. And so they're seeing that 1 million. Like they bought in. Do you see where the arc goes right to the bottom there, the flat line?
Yep.
He bought in at that 0.000000007.
Did that guy buy a private island and just move somewhere?
He may be able to at this point. I haven't talked to him since. I'm sure he's giggling.
Like even a couple of weeks ago, I was talking to a mutual colleague of ours, and he was like, "You should buy some Shiba right now." And I'm like, "I'm not buying Shiba Inu. What are you?" I'm really a much more conservative than that. Yeah. And quite frankly, if I'd have thrown $1,000 in it, I'd be out of debt right now.
Yep.
What is going on?
You know, there's a saying. There's a saying that on Wall Street, if you're there and you go to the cocktail parties and everyone is, telling you, "Oh, you need to buy this and you need to pick on that."
Yep.
It's a really bad time in the market.
Yep.
And if everyone is really depressed about what you do for work, that is the best time to be in the market. So I was like, okay, let me apply this in my daily life. Yep. Last week, I was at the doctor's. I was getting my teeth done. And he asked me, "Oh, what do you do?" And I told him. And he's like, "Oh, are you buying the Bitcoins?" And I'm like, "Oh, you're a doctor. How do you have time outside of your practice to look into all this? I don't know anything you're talking about." And he's like, "Oh man, you need to get at least 5% of your portfolio in some Dogecoin and something." And he was telling me this, and I was like, "Oh my god, sell!"
5%?
He said 5% of his portfolio, 5%. And I'm like, "Oh my god, sell everything!" In my head, I'm like, "This is the epitome of the peak of peaks," because there's a thing people say. Once the doctors get in the market, we're at.
Yeah, it's over. Doctors and dentists, when they get their feet wet, it's time to get out.
But yeah, he was pitching me, like Joseph was saying, he was pitching me to buy Shiba Inu. I should have listened. Ironically, it went up, I don't know how many percent since then. And I have another appointment with him in 2 weeks, so yeah.
His office may be closed. He may be living in the Caribbean right now.
That's true.
Yeah, my approach again with a lot of these coins, we've discussed if they have value or whatnot, but I was sort of like banging my head against the wall because this was a beautiful, actually technical type breakouts. These are the type of trades I take on anything except Shiba Inu, apparently. But all my currency and stock pairs and everything were like this. And when I saw that breakout, if you guys are members of our Discord chat, I think we did. I did mention that this breakout and this big range here. Little did I know we'd actually blow up like this, and we've actually taken out previous record highs. And to be honest, folks, I think there might be one more. No,
I think there is. As long as that lunatic Elon Musk is allowed to post or tweet on Twitter.
He doesn't own Shiba, though.
No, he doesn't. But he fucks with the price. I know. He full on admitted it, but he still fucks with it and tweets about it. So the thing is that the fact that this is what we are up against. That if somebody tweets a tweet and sends, because that's what happened. Yeah. Nothing was going on. Well, it was coming in the background. It was making my buddy a little bit of money, but nothing was really happening until Elon Musk stuck his many-toothed mouth into this and decided to make a comment about the coin, even when he doesn't own it, which I think to a certain extent is even worse. Because, it's one thing to have a vested interest in something and try to see it do better, but to just toy with the market? Like, what the fuck?
You think
right?
people are talking about, hey, Elon Musk is going to buy soon?
Yeah. It's
Elon Musk is going to
unbelievable.
buy soon, so you better buy before he does.
It's insane. The lack of regulation and due diligence that's happening right now, as I said before, is merely an ominous note of what's going to come. Before every market crash and every economic depression, there has been a huge speculative factor in the markets because the traditional ways of making money have now sort of gone by the wayside. The income disparity is huge. So people are having to turn the market into a casino. The unfortunate part is that the casino already has a house, and that house are the big hedge funds and the market makers. Right, so you're not going to make your money, and the only thing that's going to happen after you dump your life savings into it is it's going to disappear the second you actually need it. Right, it's going to be all great on paper right now, but when the interest rates rise, when inflation goes a little bit nutty, when the job market shits the bed, you're going to try to get that money, that figurative riches that you've managed to accumulate, and you're going to find that the cryptocurrency exchanges are going to shut down, right? You're not going to be able to get your cash. And if you do, it's going to start wildly plunging in value. And that's going to spread across the entire stock market. And we're going to see 1930 depression all over again. We're going to see a good 10 years of economic depression.
You actually raise a good point there, Galen, because that's what a lot of people are warning about. There's a lot of rich people, but they're technically paper millionaires.
Yes.
A lot of the retirement accounts and stuff are making big money, but again, it's on paper until they actually close and get out of that position.
Unless you're Musk screwing the tax system by taking loans out against your shares as collateral and never paying it fucking back and never having to report income. You know what? If you have over $1 billion, whether it be in assets or in cash, you should be taxed 80% on what you own, because who needs any more money than $1 billion in your fucking pocket? I mean, seriously. Him tweeting the math on how we shouldn't be taxing billionaires is such a self-interested, completely malicious effort to keep himself out of the fire. That's all. There we go.
I mean, the argument though that people make, and again, I'm not putting I'm not taking sides here, but if you took all the billions of dollars of taxes from the billionaires, the U.S. government would still be in debt by a good 20 trillion.
It's not getting out of debt. It's paying for the programs that these guys have never paid into. Despite what they think, there is no great man. And to develop a company within a country, you're hugely dependent on the infrastructure that exists. And that needs to be fucking paid for, which they have never done. For some reason, they feel they're completely removed from it. However, they benefit wholly from it. They need to pay into the system. And this is not some sort of, moral issue. This is actual economic fact.
So, it's kind of what Bill Gates and a bunch of the other people who do the pledge talk about. Obviously, with his ownership, he keeps getting richer every year. But I think in total, they've given, I know for sure Bill Gates has given half his ownership. So he's close to 150 billion. He's given close to 100 billion in combination with Warren Buffett as well, who's given close to 100 billion as well to society. And their reason is, we have all this cash, kind of what Galen is saying, but at a certain point it had no utility to us. Mm-hmm. And instead of the government taxing us, we decided to push it through to social programs or whatever means or cause that they're putting. I don't know exactly what the pledging.
Well, TK, you have a point. It doesn't necessarily have to be the government, but it just seems that's the only way to get these motherfuckers to cough up. But it is a responsibility on behalf of that individual who's made that much money off of the backs of the Commonwealth to return said value to the Commonwealth so it can continue to foster new business. It's not just because I want to be a nice guy. It makes sense. It makes economic, sustainable sense.
True. I think as of now, with $280 billion showing up in his brokerage account, he won't be thinking about that. He'll be thinking, "Oh my God, I am the best. I am the best at this."
Yeah.
Apparently, Musk has $100 billion more than Bezos now, right?
Yeah.
Crazy.
Man, that's like it goes to what Galen is saying. It's kind of where I have a love-hate relationship with Bezos. I think he's a great business person. His philanthropic endeavors are still questionable at best. But he has said that I wouldn't be as rich as I am if I didn't create value for the society. He's like, at the time your market cap was $1 trillion. He said, I've created $800 billion of value for other people, not including stakeholders like the lower prices for blah, blah. And obviously then he started selling Amazon. But I was like, you know what? He has a fair point. I'm waiting for Elon to have some of the same rhetoric. But I think right now he'll still talk about how he's trying to take us from Earth to Mars and make us fly.
What a fucking lunatic. He really is no better than Edison. And you know what? You can say that, he invented the light bulb. No, 40 fucking research scientists within a lab invented the light bulb. It wasn't Edison. Edison was a fucking patent troll. He was a smart guy, absolutely, but he wasn't the lonely genius that we have, been led to believe. Same thing for Musk, same thing for fucking Bezos, same thing for anybody that leads any of those tech companies or any business icon. They are not singular. They are a collection they are the result of a collective effort and a commonwealth beneath. That's what they are.
So this is now my question to the roundtable is, with something like the NFTs and the cryptos where their main objective was for the people, drive for the people, with the kind of speculation that's happening right now. For example, the NFT that was sold for what is it?
500 million, sort of. But yeah. Joseph says that that wasn't exactly the story.
What was that about?
Yeah. That's not exactly the story.
That's not exactly. Yeah. How is that actually beneficial now that it's being taken to these extreme lengths? What's the norm for that thing that was supposed to make the difference at the beginning? Yep. Is now being used for rampant speculation and gambling? Isn't it now just the same as the guys on Wall Street, the Wall Street doing arbitrage and
that's exactly it.
Yeah, they completely undercut the actual value of the technology, and they just kind of trade it back and forth like monkeys trading expensive trading cards.
Yep. Same thing happened with comic books. The NFTs is exactly like the comic book craze, the baseball card craze. Everybody bought everything and then all of a sudden realized, oh shit, this doesn't really have any value. Like if that's the NFT that got sold for $500 million, I want to vomit. I mean, seriously, none of these are tremendous artistic efforts. They're fucking pixelized, for Christ's sake.
No, should I buy this one, guys? Look at, there's a guy on top of the planet doing breakdancing.
Oh my God. This is the gladiator games all over again. This is such a distraction, such a useless endeavor. And it is really a manifestation of a post-social media world. We've begun to discuss the color of our socks. How good is this?
That is true. It's interesting to see what happens at the very peak. And it kind of there's a book written 1930s, and he was talking about 1940s. He was talking about Friedman. Because at the time Friedman hadn't published, and he was just saying, he was like, yeah, the central bank is a victim of its society. It's a victim of the society that it's in.
Very much so.
It behaves according to what the society is kind of giving it. So inflation is just buying power by us, and how much money it puts in is according. And I was like, oh, you know what? That's a different way to look at it right now. Where before I used to be like, oh man, the Fed, you need to make better choices. Now I'm like, oh no, we need to make better choices.
No, that's actually very true. It's very true. It does to a certain extent. There is a bit of a top-down effect. Like there are influencers that sort of create a fervor, but they really are building on basic human instinct. And so we culturally have to start reevaluating what we find valuable. What is the way to go ahead? Is it space travel, which is nothing but a fucking billionaire's holiday? Or is it actually trying to fix the planet that we're living on? You know, which is more important here? I mean, we're not going to get off this planet for at least another 150 years. And I'm talking in a way of colonization, where you're actually going to have a colony, not 5 astronauts living in a bubble on some other planet, right? That isn't getting off the planet. Now, eventually, yes, if we can't contain our population, we will have to find a way to migrate. But considering that we've had no real credible evidence that anybody else has managed to succeed in doing that, then perhaps we should focus on the place that we're at right now, deal some hard fucking truths to ourselves, and try to bring everything back in line so we have at least another fighting chance to get off the planet. That's my speech for the day.
All right, stepping back to NFTs for a second.
Yep.
The article I read about the $500 million trade called this essentially what is a wash trade. Now, I had to look that up. I've never heard of that before. But after reading the Investopedia article on what a wash trade is, yeah, it's pretty much what it is exactly what it looked for, or what it seems to be. Now, what that states and what that says to me is that because these are legal in the United States for securities. You can't do these. But with right now with NFTs, with crypto, et cetera, is that we don't have the kind of regulation to protect against this kind of bullshit, which calls to me is that we do need some variety of governmental body to come in, to step in, and maybe look at each use case and determine which regulations should translate over, so we can avoid the kind of frothy mess that we're seeing today with this weird spiky-haired NFT.
Yep, that's
good point, brother. Very good point.
And we've talked about that in the past. I think that's going to be an interesting moment because a lot of the whole crypto space was basically to be decentralized and away from government and stuff. So I'm just curious to see if that happens or when that happens, or maybe not when, but
not
if, but when.
The thing for me
when
is
the regulations happen, if the hardcore crypto guys are going to say, hey, we got to get out now because this is now becoming the thing we were trying to get away from, and if that money goes to, say, DeFi, decentralized finance.
Yeah.
So I think,
for me, none of these things have lived up to the promise that were made when they were initially created. Cryptocurrency isn't a currency. Right now, it's a runaway asset.
Well,
and DeFi isn't DeFi.
I don't know.
No, hold on. It isn't. Dude, it isn't. It can't function as such.
I don't know about Ethereum 2.0, but it just happened today, right?
Yeah, but it's not a currency. This is how it's being sold at. The functionality of all these things is the blockchain. That's basically the only thing really of any value. The cryptocurrency angle was more or less an enticement to close the blocks that would allow a blockchain to exist. Right? We turned that into an asset, saying that it was going to become some sort of currency because if it could be, wouldn't have double spend, and you could track it and all that kind of lovely stuff. Well, that's great, but the problem is it's never functioned as such. It's only been an asset, and there's no way that it can function as such until it stops being an asset. And you tell me when that happens, the whole thing is going to fucking fall out. The problem isn't the currency that we use, nor the controllers of said currency. The problem is the economic system that we've based all of this on. That's the problem. That needs to change. Changing currency won't do anything. It will change our masters, just like we went from railroad barons to tech barons. It doesn't change oppression. It just changes who's holding the whip. That's all. DeFi does not democratize the ability to loan money. It's never come up to that point, and it probably never will. These promises are just lies. The real value in what's going on right now in cryptocurrency is the blockchain. That's the true empowerment tool. But we have to start using it. Blockchain will allow us to break free from Amazon, from Uber, from all of these other services that are portal services that are ripping us off and monopolizing their sectors, to allow individual business people to carry out business with a reliability and a trust factor that they weren't able to have before. But that has to happen. And that requires not only just a legislative change, but a cultural change.
There's some DAOs presently operating in the DeFi space that are actually working to do that. They're working to affect blockchain technology to effectively cut out these unnecessary middlemen. I mean, there are some out there that are totally ones to watch, and I've been diving a lot more into it lately because of various other reasons. And there are some out there that are beyond sketchy, beyond skeptical.
Oh,
Like you look at these guys, and it's like, how is anyone throwing money at you? You're clearly some variety of scam. And it's sometimes you gotta do the research, and you gotta know how to do the research to actually
100%.
get in and figure out the difference between the two.
Yeah.
My prediction of the ending of this is there's going to be a bunch of teenagers for the next 10 years who don't buy stocks or bonds or anything because of the damage they experience from this. And this is where those people who capitalized on this situation, for lack of a better term, will get richer. And just change the domino effect of what Galen is alluding to. The power will stay with the people who take advantage of these mispricings or these inefficiencies or these moments of euphoria and pessimism. So it's like, yeah, it's kind of weird watching happen, and you're like, man, how are people not seeing? When we talk about it, the four of us, the company as well, you're like, how are people not seeing that something is off here? And you're like, no, people see it. They just want to get rich.
Yeah, that's basically it. It's avarice.
Just want to get rich.
So I've let us go pretty long just because I like to yell, and we've got some listeners, so they're listening to us yell. So I've been letting it go for a bit, but I probably should, for an interest of time and letting people get on with their day, bid a fond adieu with the final warning that everything is going to go to shit in the next 6 months. So you better be starting to buy water companies, food companies, and infrastructure. Stop playing in the speculative asset base, please, for your own good.
But we should also point out that we're really not qualified to make this kind of statement here. Like, we're not,
I never claimed to be an investment advisor. I never claimed to be an investment advisor.
Do your own due diligence.
Yep.
It's fun. It's entertainment. You get to hear four guys rant about things they like and rant about things they don't like too.
Let's say this, like, you guys can trade the short-term stuff if you want, but please have a long-term solid,
have a long-term plan and get ready to lose your shirt on the short term.
Totally.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, thank you very much. It's been a wonderful day. Thank you very much, Vishal. Thank you very much, TK. Thank you, Joseph. And thank you, Galen. No, I don't need to thank myself.
Thank you, Galen.
Thank you.
We'll see you guys next week. And I hope you have a wonderful time and the market doesn't pit out between now and then. All righty, guys.
Happy Halloween too, guys.
Oh, that's right. Boo, scary. All right, bye.
Bye.